I am as ready as I'm gonna be. What's going on, good people? Shorty, sorry for the short notice. Um, man. Anywho, let me get this hydrogen and oxygen. You know what I mean? All right. Just a quick update off the top before I kind of dig into it. I have not heard back from Bluetti, Max Oak, because Max Oak is the official seller on the dip. But what's happening, Jason? What's up, Josh? What's up, Nathan? Um, I couldn't go live yesterday. My wife was having a bit of a rough day, so I ended up actually taking off a half day. So going live wasn't really in the cards. But today she's feeling a lot better. So I wanted to see about going live today. Good money. The kids and her actually went for a stroll. Um, so I was gonna push the live to like 7:30 to 7 o'clock. I was gonna go at 7 just to give a little bit of a gap, and that was like around 6 or so. But then she was like, "Yeah, just take advantage of the quiet." They were like outside sitting in the yard, and I was out in the yard with them. What's up, Joe Tyson? Always good to see you. All in the soil, man. What's happening? Always good to see you, sir. Let's see here. Let's see here. I need to get my second monitor up here. I had this freaking computer. It's fine, but it's a whole thing. Oh man. So just to get into it a bit, one thing I wanted to say is most of the people who bought the AC200P, their devices were fine. They had all of the stuff that they needed. Some were in better condition than others. Um, you guys may know Setai had ordered it as well. Setai ordered it as well, and he did an unboxing video on his channel. So feel free to check that out. I'm glad, and I said this a couple of times, like I'm glad it happened to me instead of one of you guys, because I get to go through the process kind of publicly, and then it becomes like a I don't even want it to be like a cautionary tale. I don't think, I mean, there's a healthy form of skepticism. Jason Noy actually mentioned this when you order from AliExpress. Um, I don't have enough experience to kind of second that, but I feel like, is it more seller responsibility or AliExpress's responsibility to make sure that these people are doing what they're supposed to be doing? Because I didn't buy it from AliExpress. AliExpress was just the medium by which I ordered it. Max Oak was the official store that I bought it from. Um, at least that's my understanding and reading the joint. That's the people who I messaged related to the order. It wasn't sold by a third party or anything like that. So I'm glad everybody else got their devices, and I'm glad that the devices are good. In some instances, um, hey, 2%. Corey K, good to see you. Silver Surfer, what's happening? 2%. I'm waiting for Agwe. Let's talk about that in a second. Um, so right now, as we speak, the AC200P, I sometimes call it the ACP for short. And then when I say that, people be like, what's that? Which is fine. I understand it because there's a lot of model numbers floating around out there. The AC200P is actually right in my hallway. I have not plugged it into AC. Um, it's an interesting thing. I don't know. I think I was talking with Auntie Blessings or somebody. No. I was talking with Jason Noy. It doesn't feel like it's mine yet, and I don't know if I'm not pressed to like plug it into the wall. One thing that's completely ridiculous, I admit that it's completely ridiculous, I don't feel like pumping like 2 kilowatts into it. Because I kind of like this sport of making sure that my bill stays as low as it can. So I like going through and seeing like, oh, we used 10 kilowatts that day. And then I know that off top, whatever day I decide to choose to charge the AC200P, That's going to be like 2.5, almost 3 kilowatts, maybe 2.7 that I'm going to be adding to my bill. I know that's ridiculous. I actually had a plan in my mind. Like, okay, I want to charge it from solar. My EB120 can get in about 260 watts on a sunny day per hour, sometimes a little bit more, right? And it holds 1.2. So I'm like, if I could, you know what I mean, like finagle it a certain way, I should be able to get the 500 watts from the reservoir of the device itself, because it has 1.2 kilowatts in it, on paper. And then the 250 watts that I get in from solar, that should kind of cover me, right? So you split the difference. I get about 1,000 from there, and I get about 1,000 from solar. That's kind of how I want to do it. That may not work out, but I don't know. I don't know why my head just. What's up, sleeper? Three blue dragons. What's happening? Delgado, good to see you. Let's see who ACP 45 ACP. Hey, what's up, cat eyes? So what I was saying is, it's an unresolved situation, and until the situation is resolved, I kind of don't feel like it's mine. So it feels like I'm testing and messing around with it. Also, I don't feel like they went through the proper qualifications on the device itself. So I feel like it's not really refurbished. So it feels like a waste of my energy to start testing with this thing now. I'm not saying that I won't, but I'm just not pressed. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm just like, it's like, yeah, okay. They sent me one with no stuff in it. I can't really do what I want to do with it. So I'm not pressed. And a part of the reason why I'm not pressed is because, one, it's not my only device. That's the main thing. I kind of have a system, and I'm getting solar. None of my panels, well, some of my panels are going unused, but not to the point where I feel like I'm super motivated to start testing with this. Now, if it had them solar cables, I probably would have hooked it up ASAP Rocky. But so I think I ran down. I messaged them within the AliExpress interface. I still haven't heard anything back. It's been 2 nights. So today I fired off an email to maxoak.net. I sent it from my Ask God Solar email, and I CC'd my Gmail. And maybe tomorrow I'll send the same email from my Gmail, because sometimes I feel like my Ask God Solar email from my domain gets flagged as spam. So that's an interesting thing. For example, I have emailed Go Labs before and they never got back to me. I emailed them from my Gmail like a week ago or whatever, and they got back to me instantly. So it was like, it's kind of like this whole confirmation that I may be getting sent to spam. I'm not sure why. It's powered by like a email provider or whatever. So I emailed them and I CC'd myself. And I emailed Max Oak. I didn't go to like Bluetti's site or Bluetti Power or whatever it is. And then I asked Wayne to make a post for me in the Bluetti group to see if they had any insight. And Mike, he told me how to pronounce his name. I saw that he responded, and he basically suggested that I go through the web interface of contacting the seller. And I had already did that already. I'm hoping somebody from Bluetti responds, so we can get the situation addressed. Now, I did say in the video, that's another thing I wanted to address. I did say in the video that I wanted my money back. I don't necessarily, as I reflect on it, I was responding to comments. I don't really want my money back. I want the device. I spent the $700 because I want the device. I want them to replace it. You know what I mean? So, and if it's a situation where they replace it and they tell me I could keep the other one, then I'm grateful for that. And as soon as they do that, then it'll be on. You know what I mean? Then I could get to testing, because now I don't feel pending. I feel pending right now. And I'm really like, it doesn't necessarily it's annoying in principle, I guess. The thing that can end up being annoying is them pushing back in a way that's less than worthy of what a customer service experience should be. That's kind of like my issue. I don't like necessarily dealing with that stuff. So I do want it to go smoothly. I kind of contrasted to the situation that I had with EcoFlow, my EcoFlow river. I made a video about it. I posted in a group about that, whatever. And, you know, they were responsive via messenger and we got the situation kind of cleared up. I'm hoping that the situation goes pretty similar with Bluetti. We'll see. We'll see. I know Ban Everything was saying that he had to threaten them with legal action. He had to threaten to sue them for them to kind of address his situation. So I thought that that was really, you know, peculiar that it went that way. Right. That device was not refurbed. It's like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? How can anybody arrive at the idea that that thing went through some type of process? It's not possible. A reasonable person, I should say an overly reasonable person, may posit that maybe they had some type of assembly line. I don't believe that for 1 second, where they had like their own cables to test it, so they didn't check the cables. But not, you bust that box open. You're supposed to bust that box open, look through it, make sure all of the stuff is in there. You're supposed to test it. You probably should even wipe it down in some capacity. You know what I mean? Because it's supposed, and it's right on the page. That was the point that I made to them in an email. Like, listen, y'all state this in the listing. And I don't believe that y'all did that. The first sign is it says all accessories are included. I ain't got all the accessories. Then it says it will be refurbished. Refurb, the issues will be addressed. And then is a, I think they call it a second seller or something like that. I have the page up around here somewhere. What's up, Satya? Good to see you, man. Totally agree with you here. It's a tough situation. Thanks for sharing how it plays out. Yeah, it's my pleasure. That's why I'm glad it happened to me, because everybody gets to kind of see how it went down, and hopefully it ends in a an appropriate resolution, I suppose. I don't know. I'm seeing about max 500 watt hour return. Oh, from the EB70, I'm suspecting that the claimed return on all these devices is far lower in reality. I'm suspecting that the claimed return on all these devices is far lower than reality. Ban Everything had that issue from day one. He had capacity concerns, and they ended up replacing it. And this was like new. This was bought kind of like fresh off the whatever. It was within like the first, let's say, 6 months of them releasing it. So he got it squared away, and maybe that's when he had to threaten them with suing them. What's going on, LVP? Cycling towards Antigua. What's happening, man? Just jumping on. Good to see you. If the missus is around, tell her I say hello. Let's see. What's up, Thunder? What's up, James? James, I've been meaning to email you. I don't have anything to give at the moment. I think about it, but there's nothing I really can part with until like some other things come in, and I've been processing it and all that jazz. But we'll figure something out still. I still haven't shipped off the thing to Victor that won the Broken Bull bat. It became a whole situation with like batteries and ground, and you know, it was a completely unknown thing. I literally just printed out the stuff today. I need to just do it step by step. I'm a procrastinator in a lot of ways. It's an unfamiliar process to me, but it's literally like sitting right here. I won't put it away until I get it like shipped off. See, I see Carmelie around. Hopefully you will get to keep it and get a replacement and things and keep us updated. Yeah, I will certainly keep you guys posted. I'll make a video just about like summarizing the situation after they address it, or it just depends on how long it takes. But I do plan on putting something on wax about my experience with Maxoak and AliExpress and how it panned out. Someone returned it. They slapped your address on it and sent it on its way. That's what I believe. Hey, CJ, good to see you. I missed some key info. Not much, I don't think. late again. Yeah, it's my bad. I didn't give you guys enough lead time. I wasn't planning necessarily to go live today, but I talked with the missus about it, and she was cool with it. She just needs a break. That's what it is. We both put it on. We put it off far too long to take like much needed breaks from parenting, basically. Regional Sky Girl, hey, I believe it since you were busted. Busted and can't be trusted, as one of my childhood friends said. Oh man. I'm cooling. I'm cooling. I was a little tired today, man. I actually took a nap. I don't take naps often, but I was on that couch watching a little Life Below Zero, the Northern Territories, and I conked out. I had a bad experience with Bluetti with a new one. Terrible customer service on my AC200 Max. That's interesting, man. You hate to hear that. Jeez. Oh, did you? Nice. Over the EV55 this morning. That's what's up. How was the overall feelings about it? Now you have other stuff. I think you said you had like a flash fish and some other like little light based stuff. So it must be cool to have something with some substantial power on it. Get back here, comments. Hey Siobhan, good to see you. Yeah, I'm not too happy. It was 630 euros here in Ireland, shipped from the Netherlands. It's not as good as it was advertised as. Yeah, that's tough. Did you do a proper cycle on it, like full charge, discharge? I do. They say just fully charge it. I do a full charge, a full discharge, and a full charge again, all from AC. And in some instances with these smaller power stations, I do DC if I can, because then that's a little bit less loss. But then we talked about that last time, where loss is kind of becoming a thing where you got the same amount of loss on both things. If Jason is still around, man, what do you make? I don't know if we talked about this. What do you make of when you do these tests and the percentage of capacity you get on the DC and the AC is the same? That seems wild to me, because there was this whole thing about DC being more efficient, which is not the case anymore. And then me and Setite were talking about it. I was watching Element Van Life's review of the AC200P, and he was talking about the parasitic drain and how ridiculous it is, right? That sucks. That certainly sucks. And that just means like nothing's on. The DC and the AC inverter, the DC can be off, the AC can be off, but the device is on and it's draining power and it's losing power at a pretty good click, you know, just in terms of like your stuff can die. But that's something that I feel like a lot of us have kind of felt, you know, whatever about the EV70, you know what I mean? So I don't know if the AC200 Max is any different as far as parasitic drain. I really wish more people would make, it's tough. I was going to say more videos about these devices. I use my stuff every day and I haven't quite figured out how to do follow-up videos, but I guess you could just do a follow-up, and I'm kind of getting to that space, especially in summer. I think I'm going to be able to do a lot more content. Look, the family's going for a walk now. I was telling my wife, she was talking about how she really wants me to get ahead of the game. And I was like, that last winter was my first real winter of being like fully into creating videos on YouTube. I had the previous winter as well, but I was still kind of getting my feet wet as it relates to creating videos and all that jazz. But it was tougher because I wasn't used to not being able to just pull up and sit in the window, because the family was always around because of the pandemic and all that jazz. So I didn't have as much time to record. But I think as summer approaches, one, the sun is out more, you know what I mean? So I have more opportunities to just get out and make content. It's not cold, you know what I mean? So I do think I'm going to be able to pump out a lot more content. Like I got like 3 or 4 videos ready now. I think I have 3. A few of you have seen the Seth Comes video. I actually have the Alcatel P501 video that's pretty much done. And then I have a video about over paneling that has been recorded and just needs to be kind of edited up. And then that AC200P video just kind of came out of nowhere, you know what I mean? So that kind of pushed some videos back that I had ready to go. So I think during the summer, I'll be able to do more videos that I have in mind, like doing follow-ups on these things. I don't know, as I mentioned before, I don't know if I'm gonna do like a bunch of them in one video. I really like when Will Prowse does that every now and then. He just gives you like a bunch of updates on various things. Or if I'm gonna do like a complete, like just 3 to 5 minute follow up on the Energizer. Actually, the Energizer is having an issue. Nothing crazy, but um, it's not being charged by anything, but the light is blinking as if it's being charged. It's really weird. I don't know if it's a fluke. I'm not getting into it too much right now. I kind of want to get into that a little bit more too. So we'll talk about that in a second. This idea of my small power stations and how I haven't quite found the perfect one yet. You know what I mean? But we'll get into that in a bit. Um, but I want to know if the AC200 Max and the AC300 have parasitic drain that's comparable to the AC200P. I was actually thinking about asking Wayne about whether or not his AC200 has a good draw if you just leave it on. Will you find yourself waking up in the morning with less than, having lost like 10 to 15% of your battery? So that video, it was by Element Van Life. If you guys watch solar, I'm sure at some point YouTube will show it to you because it just randomly showed it to me. I do watch Element Van Life every now and then. The way that his voice comes through is a bit interesting to me. I'm not quite a fan. Y'all may not know, but I gave like I was talking about the last time Dell was on the live, my wife. I was talking about Kim Burrell and how her voice is just annoying. Element Van Life has a very interesting voice. So I have to kind of take it in doses, but he has really nice content. I enjoy his content. I watch it at 2x because then it kind of like morphs it a little bit. But that's who did the video on the AC200P. He talked about his issues with it. Let me scroll down a little bit. What's up, Child of God? What did I say? Oh, okay, One Mind Solution. What's happening? Jason, no, the background draw isn't horrible with the DC output on. The AC inverter is much less. I haven't noticed much power loss with the AC, with the outputs disabled. That's interesting. I understand that Jason noise is a tough pill to swallow. Let me see what y'all talking about. Maybe I missed something. What's going on? Four Elements United. Yeah, man, I ain't have no live I was coming off of, so I was able to come in and kind of hang out with you guys. Oh man, it was cool. When Four Elements United, I was watching their video. It's like a 4-panel conversation between, I guess I want to call you guys friends. I mean, y'all are all friends. But they talk about certain topics. And last night's topic was about, is sex sacred? So it was a good conversation that they were having. It's a little bit of I guess a red herring, maybe. I don't know if I'm using that phrase properly, but Four Elements United. Yeah, that's what I was doing. That's what I was checking out yesterday for sure. Let's see. Okay, you say you opened your dip this morning. Not too happy. Had to send back due to the recall plug was not wired right on the new set of the AC200 Maxes. Send it back, and they send me a used AC200 Max. Had to send this one back. Now I just got a new block. Interesting. Wow. I got you in mind for sure, bro. For sure. Stay on them. I had to wait for. Wait, what? Stay on them. I had to. It was for 62 months. Back in. I don't follow that. I call the Las Vegas office and talk to Victor, the manager. Cat Eyes, please give me the plug. Shoot. Who's the plug? You didn't miss much. Just updating people on stuff you probably already know, Wayne. Yeah, I tried discharging totally and then recharging DC on 12 volt at 60 watts constant can do 10 hours, but 60 watts on AC can only do about 6 hours. 60 watts on AC can only do about 6 hours. That's wild. Wow, that's deep. I don't feel like mapping right now, but sheesh. I mean, yeah, that seems. Let me just go ahead and get it popping because I'm not gonna be able to let that go. I don't want y'all here sitting in silence. 60 times 6 is 360. Sheesh. That seems problematic. That's a problem. That's a problem. And then it sounds like you're doing it at a good rate. You're not wilding. You know what I mean? That's crazy. It's too quiet. Where are the kids and the missus? They went for a stroll. Um, my bad. I hear a little something stirring. There's this bird that's been trying to like make my overhang of my door home. I've allowed them to do it for like the last 3 summers, but I'm over it. There's another nest I need to pull down because they poop all over my porch, and it's not terrible, but it's just like yeah, I'm not into it. I'm not into it. All right, tough to mention efficiency in a small message here. Usually for me, small power stations. Usually for the small power stations, the AC inverter uses more power. The bigger power stations seem to do better with efficiency. That's interesting. But you have the AC200P, so I wonder. I'm curious. You gotta let me know. Just kind of plug it up and then turn it on and see how much power you lose from just the night to the morning. And don't forget to like on your way in. Hey, you could like this one, like this video, because this video is very topical. It's like, yeah, we're hanging out, but I'm sure people are curious about an update on the thing. So go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and watch the other video about the whole foolishness and like that one too. It'll get shared with more people so more people know what's going on. I've been using my AC200P for a while now, and just as long as you have a pretty big load hooked up to it, you don't really notice the parasitic draw. I would guess so, right? You're using a lot of power. You're not gonna care about 25 watts. I don't know what it is. Mine ain't never been charged. It's just sitting in the hallway. Actually, I think it was Gone Again. He had a video today where he was reviewing the AC200P or something. I don't know. I have to figure it out. But he made a good point that I thought was a very good call out. He said that the AC inverter uses a lot of power, kind of along the lines of what Child of God is saying. It uses a lot of power. So it's better when you go ahead and fire up your AC inverter to kind of like rock out. And what I mean by that is to charge a lot of stuff. So you go ahead and you charge a lot of stuff because it's like it's a high power draw. I kind of likened it to like these generators. I mean, the inverter generator is a little bit smarter, but what you want to do with a generator, which is why people kind of incorporate generators in the system, is what they do is they have their battery, which can take that power, and then you charge your power station up from the generator as quickly as possible. So then you could use that quiet power throughout the duration of however long that power will last you. Now, you think about the AC200P in that same context where, okay, putting on that AC inverter, it's going to cost you because it's such a big inverter. It's 2000 watts, right? So I had this idea of like, I wonder if the EcoFlow's inverters are more efficient. Do they have as much parasitic drain? You know what I mean? I think that would be a cool kind of comparison. How much power do you lose on the Delta Pro versus the whatever? And you'd have to go by percentage and kind of figure that out. But I kind of wish that these power stations would show you watt hours remaining. I think that would be cool. I know that that's a little bit tough, but I'll even take a guesstimate, man. Like I want to know watt hours remaining. That's why when I made a statement some time ago, like early on, I didn't really necessarily care that my EB70 didn't have a percentage on the dip, because a percentage is cool, but what does it really tell you? I mean, you have to do math anyway. So when I think about 20% of my EB120, it's like 240 or something like that, right? So it's like, why can't you tell me watt hours? But anyway, my point is, so you have a situation where you got like the AC, let's use the AC200 Max, right? Because that one can take in 900 watts of solar. And then more if you use the optimizer, the DC optimizer to charge in 500 more watts of solar. I think that one works for that one. 900 watts of solar. And let's say you have an EcoFlow of Mini, Delta, Tango, Bravo, Delta, Max, whatever. So you would use it in the same way that you use a generator. You take that power from that AC200P, you dump it into the EcoFlow. The EcoFlow possibly has a more efficient inverter. I don't know, but that's just kind of how my brain went about it. Maybe those would be two companions. Y'all know I'm like a dual kind of person for the benefit. I got the EB70 and I have the EcoFlow River. You know what I mean? I didn't necessarily pick sides. I got both of them. So just something interesting to think about. I thought that that was a very good point. And that's what I'm all about, just in terms of being strategic about how to use your solar and how to get the most out of your solar system. And it's like not a lot of people kind of go through this like, okay, let's be smart about this. How do I get the most out of this system? All right, see what y'all snapping and trapping about. Read that one already. What's going on, Mr. Repo? Good to see you, man. South Padre Q, what's happening? South Padre Q, I imagine you still have panels for sale. Let me know, and then I'll make a whole, announcement about that. Any update on your EcoFlow River battery? Are you getting the proper watt hours now? That's a good question, Nathan. I think so. I think I am. I just put the battery in on it maybe like 3 or 4 days ago. And it hasn't been like a banging solar situation. And I kind of manage my EcoFlow in a very peculiar way. So I've been keeping an eye on it. But it does seem that it's respecting the capacity. It's not treating it as though it has a 288 watt hour battery or whatever the base model is, because I typically run my internet on it. My internet uses about 20 watts. And if it is full or kind of high, I'm getting like a good, when I first plugged it in, it would say I had like 25 hours remaining, which I found to be interesting. I didn't quite believe that, and I don't know if that's gonna stick. Excuse me for a second. So I kind of want to get it in the groove of being fully charged and then going down and then charging it back up and kind of seeing what it's doing over the next couple of days. I actually just finished kind of sorting and organizing my footage for all of it, the oops, the big blue and the EcoFlow, so I can kind of start putting those videos together, which is going to be interesting because I recorded it in such a casual way. I have to bring some structure to the video. Otherwise, it's just clips of me like noticing weird behavior. So I have to put some context around it. And but it seems fine. It does seem fine. And when I say that, I feel like it seems better. When I start to look at it, it's like 42%. And it tells me my stuff will last for like 9 hours, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. I feel comfortable with that. It's not as much as I think it should be. I've kind of sat around like multiplying and stuff like that. But ultimately, it seems like it's working fine. And I don't expect perfection, right? Because I've had the device for about a year. And y'all know I use my devices. I use that EcoFlow every day. It very rarely comes off of or out of that little spot next to my TV. So I don't expect the battery to come out to be a full situation, right? Because that battery is going to have to constantly be equalized with the internal battery, which I've had for some time and I cycle. And Hobotech made the point about the original R600 as to like, why do you have the battery in the base model? Should have been something like the Energy Flex, I believe it's called. And the Titan is another one. The AC300 is another one who has that style of the module itself is separate from the batteries. So because on the EcoFlow, the module and the battery are together, even if you buy a new battery, it's still gonna, what's the word? I want to say assimilate. It's still gonna try and match that because that's the only way that those things kind of work. I'm not an engineer, but it's my understanding that they have to equalize. Dun, dun, dun. 2 months. Okay, cool. You had to work with them for 2 months to get things squared away. I got you, cat eyes. It's related to this back and forth email. I had to call Las Vegas. Okay. That's interesting. So did you call Bluetti or did you call Max Oak? Vegas is where we got the AC200Ps from. Yeah, you're right. I recall that now. Joe did change his name to the Practical Gadgeteer. 240 volts in Ireland converted from 120 in Europe. I don't know if that makes a difference. Ooh, I feel like set tight Europe. Does that make a difference? Think about that. Converted. That it should. I don't know. Don't even get me to speculating on that. I'll leave that up to smarter people than I in that area. Hey, Dominique. I wanted to have a channel name that reflects my interests. I'm going to try and do some more content soon. That's what's up. You could plug the AC charger into a fully charged device and then see how many watts it charges overnight. Give me some context on that. I should test that. You should test that. You should test everything. Did you see the professor's video talking about the Bluetti EP500 Pro now being offered through retail just in time for the Easter sale? I didn't even watch the video. That me and Set Type, we had like a pretty interesting conversation. It kind of got his brain going about the feasibility, the value related to the EP500 from Bluetti. And he was talking about these ideas as like, well, you could get this instead of that. And, it was a whole thing. If he wants to comment some of his thoughts as it relates to the EP500, feel free, sir. I also, because I'm talking about him, you guys go and check out his channel. He's kind of growing it, finding his way and all of that jazz. Some useful information over there from time to time, just in terms of like what I'm into. He's really like testy. And then I also want to mention Prepping on the Creek, Prepping No G, just an apostrophe. He's at 499 subs, man. I'm so happy for him. He'll be hitting 500 soon. So if y'all are into his content and you're not subscribed, you watch his videos and you're not subscribed, consider subscribing just to get him over that 500 mark. That would be dope. Or don't, you know what I mean? Just do whatever you want to do. Did you pick up some more Renogy panels? It seems like you got a great deal on that one you got. I did not personally. I don't need any more 100 watt panels, nor do I want any more. I would like to test Bouge RV's 100 watt panel just to kind of see what the form factor and output is compared to some other panels that I have. But yeah, I'm kind of like I'm over 100 watt panels. But I will buy one from time to time just because of curiosity. Actually, New Power has a 75 watt panel that I wanted to check out, but I kind of told myself not to because it's like felt weird to grab it for the reason that I was going to grab it, which is to lay flat on my balcony and have a smaller footprint that doesn't quite infringe on my wife hanging out there on the balcony. But I feel like because it lays flat, I need as much power as I can get. That 100 watt panel is not big. The 75 watt panel is just a little smaller than it. So I was just like, I'd be kind of wasting money there because realistically, what am I going to intentionally set up that 75 watt panel for? It's just like, I actually still have a 50 watt panel that I don't really even use. It's just sitting down in my basement, which is my first solar panel, first rigid. I had an Anchor little folding dip that I got some time ago, many years ago. Pay like $60 for it. Actually, I didn't buy it. My wife bought it for me for my birthday because she knows I'm weird about spending money. So I'm not big on birthdays. I don't really care. I didn't do anything. I know that's a That's kind of a bit of a juvenile take on birthdays, because it's not really about you doing anything. It's about a celebration of your birth. But I felt like, I don't care. But anyway, I use those moments, my birthday, to get stuff that I don't quite want to spend the coins on. So she got it for me for my birthday because I wasn't going to buy it. $60 for a 10-watt panel. I think it was like 14 watts. It just seems like crazy. But when you got that portability stuff, it costs more. Yeah, that thing is huge, man. The EP500. I'm Johnny Come Lately. What's up, LA Times? Good to see you. Hey, Purple on the Creek is around here. What would be nice is if they would oversize the battery to match what it's rated for. That is always a good thing. That's something that I picked up from Will Props. He always talks about underselling and over delivering. And companies are getting there, right? Setai also mentioned that maybe because of the parasitic drain on the AC200P is why they bumped it up to 2000 watts. But they bumped it up publicly, so it's like you kind of really don't know, but maybe the 1700, you know what I mean? It's something he kind of put out there. I thought that was an interesting concept. Lit no regrets. What's happening? My 200P uses a lot of power on idle with DC, with AC. I have decided to use my Go Labs to power my fridge and then charge it up once a day with the 200P. Then I don't have to leave my 200P on all day. And that's the interesting thing I was mentioning earlier about how you can be strategic with your solar, right? Because, yeah, it's like if it's burning power. Listen, I struggle with the idea of because they say DC is more efficient, right? Right. I struggle with the idea of one, I hate charging my power stations from the wall. I hate it. I only do it when I absolutely have to. Two, I don't even like charging power stations from AC, from my power stations that are getting solar, right? And that's all just free energy. You know what I mean? It's just like it's all free once you pay for it. I don't even like doing that. So I understand this idea of not having something on and wasting power. But I feel like what I have to come to terms with, and I haven't gotten there yet, I have to come to terms with this idea that one, it is power from the sun. So taking the EB120 and then charging up my OOPS from AC because it's going to charge faster. And I mean my OOPS version 1, which can't charge from solar. Charging it up from AC is going to give it 100 watts versus charging it up from DC, which is going to give it maybe about 70, 80. I don't know. I haven't done it a lot. It still works weird when I use that AC port. I mean, the DC charging. So sometimes I put it on AC. Then I have the Alcatel P501. All I can do is charge that from AC. So I'm kind of slowly coming to terms with the fact of just like, you got to take it on the chin. The AC coming from these power stations is from the sun. Yeah, it's less efficient, but you got to power dump some kind of way. I cannot imagine what life is going to be like when I don't have to power dump. I wonder if I'm going to have this feeling of that I'll have to overcome, which is this feeling of, man, my power stations are never full. It's this balance, right? Especially with power stations. With like a build your own or DIY system, you can kind of like intentionally kind of balance your system. Like you can, like if you go about it the right way, you can say, okay, I got 2000 watts of solar. They're going to produce 1500 watts a day. You know what I mean? It's like you could kind of go at it. My inverter is going to be able to use this much. My battery capacity is going to be able to take in this much. So you can kind of be really strategic and you kind of want to match things well. I'm getting to a place where I'm starting to understand, okay, a 100 watt panel will put out about 500 watt hours a day, right? That's something that we haven't really been thinking about. We haven't thought about that. It's just like, okay, power station, what can it take in? Okay, 100 watts. It could take in 60 watts. Let me get a 100-watt panel. Knowing that, or maybe not knowing that, you have a device that can take in 60 watts from a 100-watt panel. That dip is going to be fully charged if it's like, because typically a 60-watt power station is usually one of the smaller ones. It has 300 or so watt hours. You'll be done charging that in a few hours, right? And then yes, if you're not around to manage it, your power is going to waste. So I say all that to get back to the main point of, I wonder how I'm going to feel when I have bigger power stations and then because I use the power and because the panels may not necessarily be ideally matched to put out the type of power that it needs to get full in a day. I may have a situation where, let me just make the point a little plain. I got the AC200P, 2000 watt hours of capacity. My 320 watt panel is going to probably go on that dip. It produces about 250 watt hours or whatever, an hour, right? I'm not going to math. But then at some point, let's say I get another big power station, which is a possibility, right? That one is going to have probably a 200 watt panel on it. I may entertain going in series, but if you've been around for a while, you know how I feel about series because of my shading situation. And it's not easy to move panels. And I like to move panels throughout the day. So maybe I'll put one panel on that one. That one's a 2000 watt hour, but a 200 watt panel is only going to produce about 1000 watts a day, maybe a little more, maybe like 1.2 kilowatts or 1200 watts. So that 2000 watt hour battery is very rarely going to get full if depleted all the way down to, let's say, 20%. And I don't know if that's going to drive me crazy. Like, man, my power station never gets full. But one thing we all have to come to terms with is that 1.2 kilowatts of power or 1200 watts of power is 1200 watts of power. Some people like their devices to be full because I think because our power stations for a lot of us started off so small, you want it as much power as possible in an emergency situation. And I understand that. But I think as these power stations get bigger, let's say you got the EB70, right? And you got a 100 watt panel on it because of its weird 8 amp limit. You don't opt to go 200 watts because of putting panels in parallel is weird and it throws away some wattage and whatever. But if it charged all day, you still got 500 watt hours. Sure, your device is not full, but you got the amount of power that the panels could produce. Do y'all understand what I'm getting at here? That's, if we get the power that we get, and I think as the power stations get bigger, we're kind of going to have to adjust our mindset. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it made it up to 70% today. That sucks. You know what I mean? You want your stuff to be full, but also keep in mind that good, healthy battery maintenance is to keep it from in between like 20 to 80%. That's another thing that I know, you know what I mean? But it's like, I still want to get as much power as possible. And to keep it a buck, I want to use as much power as possible. That's why I go with LiFo, because I like the longevity. I like to be able to hammer a power station. I've been talking a lot. I'm going to take a break and see what y'all talking about. Thanks, I have good info. It's far too late here now. Work tomorrow. Amen. I respect that. Got to make good choices, right? I got to head out. Have a good night, Jason Noyd. I know he probably has dinner or something going on with the family. I'm kind of mad with EcoFlow right now. I bought an EcoFlow River Max Plus. Ooh, it's a lot of words. Okay, and no matter what I try, it will not connect. I don't know if they sent me someone's rejected return one or not. Connecting to those devices is connecting to Wi-Fi is confusing. I'm a techie, and it took me a second to kind of figure out what the instructions were telling me. But connecting to the device should be relatively easy. You press and hold the Internet of Things button or the IoT button, and then that Wi-Fi starts to transmit. And then you just have to connect your phone to that device's hotspot and then open your app. But you have to be logged into your EcoFlow app first, because once your phone connects to the EcoFlow, you no longer have internet. But the main goal for them is to have you connect your phone to the device and then add the Wi-Fi credentials to the device, so that now your phone and them are both on Wi-Fi and they can just communicate wirelessly instead of a direct connection. So it's a little weird. And the layout of the app back when I did it, I don't know if it was as intuitive, and I don't know if it has gotten more intuitive. You just kind of got to know what you're doing to know, okay, I'm connecting to Wi-Fi, and then now I have to tell it how to get to Wi-Fi. It's an interesting situation. And I'm in IT. To test parasitic drain, when I leave my device plugged in, the charging stops when full, then kicks back on after a while. With a kilowatt meter, you should test the watt hours drain overnight. The EP500 Pro is far better than the 500 model. I dig that. Hey, bro, let's go, man. What's happening? Good to see you guys. Bro, let's go is another channel that I rock with and I support, and I encourage you guys to rock with and support as well. Bro, let's go. Prepping on the Creek, Four Elements United, Bean Energy, and Setite. There's probably some other ones around here, but you know, I'm just a man. EP500 is weird. Inverter is too small for the price. I think that's fair. As of today, customer service plays a huge role in whether or not I will buy a product. I dig that. I meant 320 watt. Okay, 99 fabrication TV. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you, bro. Let's see here. The new Anchor power station is very nice, but only 1,000 watt hours or 1,500 watt hours. You should have a look, and it comes with a 5-year warranty too. Yeah, I on the community post, I shared the video. I didn't watch the video in totality. One, because I know Anchor is not probably going to send me one at this point, and I know I'm not going to buy one. So I'm extremely utilitarian. So if I don't have a particular use for a thing, I'm not pressed to get all of the actual factuals. But I do need to finish the video. I started watching it. The dip looks cool. The thing that's going to matter to me is when somebody actually reviews it. The press, and I don't mean review it in terms of making sure that it does what it's supposed to do, because most devices do what they're supposed to do. That's not something I'm hung up on. It's nice to know it, but most devices do what they're supposed to do. When you start getting off the off-beaten path, then it gets weird. But I don't expect Anchor to not deliver on their promises. But the reason why I like to get a review is because, much like the videos that I like to create, I want to kind of glean usefulness of the device. Like, what are the particulars and how could that fit into my system, and what's nice about it, what's cool about it, not just the specs. So that's kind of why I create the kind of videos that I create, which are not focused on specs and stuff like that. Unless it's in relation to usability, right? You think about the Jackery. The Jackery specs matter because, one, it outclasses a lot of its counterparts because it can charge at 85 watts and it can dual charge, which is not something that a lot of these power stations in that particular bracket can do. I still want to get back to that. We have to talk about that again in a little bit. What is the best panel for the Tech-Oz? I feel like we talked about this already, bro. Let's go. I just use the Renogy with an 8mm adapter. It takes in 85 watts. 100 watt panel pretty much will provide that. I hope I didn't sound annoyed or anything, because I wasn't. My apologies if I did. Good evening, old head. What's happening? I don't think that will happen until you go DIY. Okay, that must be in reference to my whole shebang. Hey, Auntie Blessings, good to see you. Just in traffic. That's what's up. I dig it. So you're keeping the power station. I don't know. I'm looking for a resolution to the situation. I want to have a truly refurbished power station. I want something to come and me look at it like a lot of my viewers who got one looked at it like, yeah, it's used, but it looks good. You know what I mean? I got all my cables and all that jazz. So one thing I will say, I believe it's going to work out for me. I do. Okay. Where's the baby? Okay, you got to go quickly? Yeah. All right. The family has returned. What's up, Beats? Good to see you, man. How you doing? Great advice about the solar panels. I needed to know that 200 watt panel can produce about 2,000 watts a day. I have two 100 watt panels. Interesting. I don't think it can produce 2,000 200 watt panel. If a 500 watt panel, Mama, you can come over here. She's sad because Mommy ran upstairs. She's cool for now. She'll make her way over here in a second. Somebody.
And the walk, I think I didn't want to come, but soon we'll come back.
Huh?
Soon we'll get our bikes.
You think you guys are gonna go back out on your bikes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. So if a 500-watt panel, a 100-watt panel, they say can produce 500-watt hours a day. So then a 200-watt panel will produce 1,000-watt hours a day. Maybe a little more, a little less, give or take. I lean towards the fact that it produces a little more for me because I follow the sun with my panels. I don't move them often, but hey, mama. I don't move them often, but I do face them east and I do face them south. And when I can, I do face them west. Um, so I get a little more power than most people who only face their panels one way. But also, if you face your panels just south, the reason why you can get about 500 watt hours on a panel that doesn't produce 100 watts an hour is simply that you get you get power more than 5 hours a day, but your sun is strongest during those 5 sun hours a day, and that's an average for panels around the like U.S. It could be different for other places depending on your latitude and where your sun is and all that jazz. But typically, you get about 5 potent sun hours a day. But if during when the sun starts to go down, you're getting 60 watts instead of 80 or 50 watts instead of 75, you're still getting that power. So I think they're kind of like rounding up and taking into consideration the full spectrum of the sun during the day, right? Yeah. No, this is the first EcoFlow that I had a problem with. I know how to connect. I have 4 other EcoFlows. Oh, I've never had any problems. I got you. So Sharon, she knows what's going on. And she's just having issues with that one. That is interesting. That's unfortunate. Have you commented or shared your stuff in the group? I don't know how effective that is, but when I had my situation, about a year or so ago, that's what I did. That got me some movement because they had people in that group who were attentive to the post. I don't know if that's still the case or not. I wouldn't charge beyond 80%. I dig that. I live a thug life, so I personally think as you acquire additional power stations, one should be utilizing it for things size to its battery. Can you explain that a little bit, LA Times? Hey, dinner is served. I got to go back to work another 13-hour day later. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Thanks. I am helping. I am for helping me out. Something like that. Oh, thanks, for helping me out. Okay. We'll translate that. Chalk it up to my lack of Renogy model number knowledge. My bad. That's what's up. I dig that. Just any 100-watt panel will be fine. You could get the HQST if you prefer a more square panel. They have their panels. I like the monocrystalline one that's 32 inches instead of the older monocrystalline one that's 36 inches. Give it to daddy. Thanks, mama. You got you a box. Hey, Ivan, can you put like Karma on or Motown Magic? Maybe Motown Magic. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. That's what I'm here for. All right. So let's change paces here. So I did get this one a couple of days ago. This is the GoLabs i200. It's an interesting little like device. For its price, this one may be a real budget contender. It's a nice one. The screen is a little plain Jane. I haven't plugged it into solar yet. I usually don't on these small ones. I feel like, again, that's a waste of a 100-watt panel, right? I'd rather have a device that can take 100 watts on a 100-watt panel versus one that has 60. But we got to do what we got to do in these streets. I need you to turn that down to maybe about 15, buddy. I think I haven't done much with it. I'm on my first. I did a discharge. So now this one is optimized per my preference. I've done a full charge, discharge, charge cycle. So it's good to go. I think the button layout is a little interesting, but it makes sense. You couldn't do it any other way, right? So this one, this is AC, this is DC, this is power, and then that's 12 volts or something like that. I guess that one's called USB. Oh, and one thing I did notice that these don't have an on button because they sense when you plug something in, so they turn on that way. I thought that that was really interesting. I have to read the manual, or if somebody can tell me how you turn the beeping off, I want to do that. I need to figure that out. So GoLabs i200. It's an interesting little device. Where's my Jackery? Is my Jackery around? Jackery's just like for the form factor, they're crushing it. This has 200 and some odd watt hours in it, and the Jackery has 293 watt hours in it, and the Jackery still looks better. I ain't hating, you know what I mean? Jackery can charge you an extra $100 for a device, so it better be nice, right? But this was cool. I bring this up because I'm gonna be doing a video on it soon. It's a nice little device. I have to really kind of sit down and figure out what I'm gonna do with my devices, and ultimately my problem in my 300 watt hour range is none of them are perfect, and I mean perfect for me. If the Jackery 300 had LiFePo in it, that would be as close to perfection as you can get in the 300 watt hour device range. That's kind of how I feel about it. The Energizer, if it charged at 85 watts, it will be my favorite power station. It's one of my favorites in that price range anyway, because of the design on it. It has a good polish to it. But that 60 watts, from solar, it's a downside for this one. I'm not a fan. I'm not hating, but I'm not a fan. Let's see if it does what I was telling you about. Look at it. You see that? I turned it on and it's blinking. Now, I don't know if it's blinking because the battery is low. Maybe that's the issue. That could be it. Maybe I discovered it on a live. Truman Show style. I told y'all last time that this light doesn't stay on this other GoLabs. And you know, this is pretty much exactly like the GoLabs R300 to be exact. The light will not stay on all night, but it's still one of my favorites. Jeez, man, cut it out. So maybe it's blank. Oh, no. Look at it. Look what it did. It went from 2% to 3%. What's charging it, y'all? What? What's going on here? I don't understand. Oh, man, that's funny. Wow, wild times for Ask Ive. Tomorrow, speaking of the GoLabs, I believe tomorrow, is that the one that's 169 or something like that? Yes, Sharon, yes. It was like 169 with a $40 coupon at one point. It's still kind of couponing, but the coupon is not as good lately. I think I saw like $20 or something like that. But at 130, that one's probably, what was my best budget pick? It was like the GoLabs R300. I mean, it's still, I haven't done the math on the watts per dollar or cost on that one. But for 130, that was a pretty good scoop up. Thanks, Mama. Appreciate you. You okay? You coming back to hang out? All right, hold on. You gonna say hi? So the R500 is supposed to be coming tomorrow. I'm kind of looking forward to that one. No, don't grab my stuff. I'm looking forward to that one because that I was talking with Jason about the port size. I believe the port size has to be 5525. If it is, that's going to be a good scoop up because I gotta make some more space here. This is a little tight. That'll be one of the main devices that can charge from solar at 100 watts, and hopefully I can rely on it. And I can also power dump into it when I need to using the 100-watt USB-C port. That one has that spread of features is really ideal for me. Yeah. My wife had to go upstairs to take care of some stuff, so my attention is divided. Let's see here. Energizer is collecting static electricity out of air to power. Hey, this is the future. Energizer say, welcome to the future. So I talked about this on the last slide with the R500. I'm looking forward to that for those reasons, but mainly because I have like 4 or 5 devices that don't match that prowess. Let's circle back to the smaller power stations, right? And this idea of what I'm waiting for. Actually, you know who reached out to me? Let me see how many OG people we have around here. Do y'all remember what company told me that they don't work with people until they hit 10,000 subs? Well, they reached out to me, and I'm like a couple hundred shy of like 56, 57 or something like that. I'm not sure. But they reached out and was like, yeah, would you like to do a video on our power station? It's a 300 watt hour. They have a 500 watt hour. I was thinking about um, seeing if they would send me the 500 watt hour one, but it's a 500 watt hour lithium ion. I'm going to think about it. I have to look at the specs to see how fast can it charge from solar, right? Because I'm getting into this place. It's like I want to do videos on all the devices unless they're just garbage, because I think that helps to inform people's purchasing decisions. And also, as this stuff gets older and starts to go on sale, then you have a point of reference like, okay, Oz video is just about this device and the usefulness of it in totality. So I could go watch that video and then be like, oh yeah, that didn't make sense when it was like 350, but if I could get it for like 229, then 179 or $150 used and the person only had it for 6 months. It's like that's kind of how my brain works. You know what I mean? It may not be worth it when it first came out, but as they start to replace it, maybe you find it on what do they call it, clearance or something like that, and then that's a good look. And then you got a video you could go watch to kind of run down the usefulness, the use cases, and how it could work in your particular system. I think that's dope. That's the kind of stuff I'm into, which is why I created the channel, right? I heard Sonic somewhere around here, man. Sonic burgers up here. After there was that meat shortage, they never went back to being good. Sonic burgers are just okay now up here, and I'm disappointed. Sonic used to be, man. Let's see. If you don't hear from anyone, please call Victor, manager, a quicker response. It's AC200P. I feel like, can you message me in some capacity the contact information? You can type it here. I can grab it from the live. Hey, Dolly, what's happening? My techie card is revoked. How so? What did my techie card get revoked for? Let's see. I also am in a position, I have to wait to hear from them tonight. I was telling my wife in the next 45 days, I could possibly have 3, including the AC200P. I could possibly have 3 2 kilowatt-hour devices. It's a possibility, but I don't count my chickens before they hatch. I think that's the same. The AC200P situation still needs to be resolved. I don't know what's going to come of that. There's a possibility that I could get this Alcatel P2001. Jason Noy did a video on it. That's a possibility. I just have to finalize the details tonight. I'm kind of looking forward to that one. It has a 500 watt limit on it for solar, which is still fine, but it's like comparatively, you think about 700 watts, 900 watts, 1200 watts. And it's like this dip can only take in 500, but 500 is fine for most people. Most people don't have space for that many panels. And most people are not going to spend all that money, especially people who are in this particular following. You know, we're all kind of growing together in some faster than others, some slower than others. But 500 watts is still a good time. That's for sure. Let's see. Got to find the right location. Almost every Sonic around me is mediocre, but if I drive to the right one in the next county, it's amazing. Hey, we ain't got too many around here, so I got to figure out how to get the solar into my house. I think I need to drill a hole in the wall. There's some filled up holes I could just drill through. Yeah, I thought about that as it relates to my coax cable line that came in for my service. And just, yeah, but that's not my thing. I'm not handy in that regard. And I'm not going to waste my time trying to get knowledgeable about, you know, Mason bits and all that jazz. I don't have that stuff. So I'm not going to do it. I want to do it. And I actually had a revelation because initially one hesitation I had that stopped me from doing it is because I didn't know how to crimp MC4 cables. So I was kind of like procrastinating in that regard. Then I realized that maybe I didn't have to re-crimp it, because you drill a hole, the hole is only going to be big enough for the wire to come through. But you got that big old MC4 connector off it. So you got to take it off. So I was like, man, I don't want to do that. But then I realized that all I have to do is remove the casing around it. And then that little metal lead in there that's crimped on the wire should get through the hole just fine. And that kind of opened up my brain in terms of having like a more permanent, like solar cable coming into my house type of situation. But then I still have the thing of finding somebody to do it, because I ain't going to do it. And then at some point I was like, do I want to drill holes in this house? Because we were thinking about like, we kind of need a bigger house, and we weren't realistically thinking about moving. But I started to think about like, do I want to make these like real modifications to this house? I kind of started to feel like this is not really our house anymore. It's going to belong to whoever the person we sell it to or whoever we rent it to if we go that route, which is a possibility. You can't have these books, Mama. Let's see. What about if an EMP goes off? Then what? Then what? You know, what are we gonna do? EMP went off. I don't worry about such things. And then my understanding is that, you know, the EMPs are usually localized. Like, do we expect an EMP to go off across the whole US? I feel like some people are gonna be out of luck and some people are gonna have stuff that still works. Hey, stop. No. Come on, let's go. You're getting a little too curious. So Ivan was under the impression that y'all were going back out. Yeah, I didn't think y'all would make it, but I was hopeful. Like, okay, well, all right. I didn't want to dash his dreams. Like, I don't think y'all going back out. What's up, Dean? Been a while, man. How you doing? I hope all is well. If all is not well, man, hey, thoughts and prayers, right? I laugh because that's like, I won't go political, but you know, yeah. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you. Double B. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's who asked that question. What if an EMP goes off? Yeah. 200-watt panels is my sweet spot for the AC200P. Not too hard to move around to follow the sun, and a decent charge rate. Yeah, I agree. That's kind of the situation I may end up in because I have the panels. So I have to decide whether or not I'm going to have one situation be like stationary, right? Where, because I'm not moving two panels. I don't see it as being tenable for me because of the wires. The wires get a bit unwieldy. I have to navigate my driveway, which is it has a whatever, those bricks and stuff. That's how I pulled the cable out of one of my panels, messing around with those bricks. It was my fault. I was definitely wild, and I grabbed the panel in too flippant of a way, and it got hung up, and that thing slid right up out of there. But yeah, so I have to decide. So two 200-watt panels realistically is going to give you about 300 watts of solar. That mine typically produce about 150 on average. They can produce a little more. So I'd say that's a good look. And then you look at two 200-watt panels on whatever device versus one 320-watt panel on one device getting about 250, right? That's why I like the whole one panel, one power station. And I know some people, myself included, think about like, man, what if I had gotten two panels? I don't think dude would have sold me the two panels for $250 a pop. But I don't know. I think it could work, but I would much rather get my hands on a beastie like 400-watt panel than to have two 320s, because I ultimately want to max out on a single panel output. So it'd be nice to have two of those 320s. I mean, I don't know if it would be nice. That'd be a big. I'm not gonna play it up. It would be cool to have them, but it's also okay that I don't have two of them. What time is it? Now what's for dinner? Like we ate everything. The only option we have that we haven't had is Chipotle.
I don't know. My stomach is messed up, so I feel like I don't like let nobody cook for me.
Oh, so you cooking? That's what you're trying to say?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I don't know if I want somebody to cook for me. Word up on Alcatel, the customer service is raggedy. I think twice about dropping any sizable loot on their products. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. They may come through in the end, but it's a hassle. I was optimistic because it seemed like they gave Jason the impression that they were addressing the situations or the issues that they had with the P 2001. But that was just his take based on it. I don't know if because it was early on in the issue, and the issue was that DC turned off too fast, and then they did a firmware update to the newer models, and then the AC started turning off too fast. It was a whole thing. I don't have an update. I'm gonna have to ask Jason Noah. He had to break out. Solar flares is probably more of a risk than EMP, but it's sort of the same thing. Yeah. Solar flares is Joe Trott's thing. I forget what it's like, the prepared gadgeteer. He was around here earlier. He had to break out for dinner. I am not happy. What's going on, Ryan Allen? It's good to see you, man. Super savvy guy. Been an electrician for many, many years. Every time I have something and I mention it and he watches that video, he comments, and then it's super informative. So I appreciate you, sir. Salute to you. I'm not happy with my EB70. The surge capacity of the inverter is only 800 watts. Right. I kept it, but won't buy another EB70. That's what I was saying. It's like people were talking about the EB70S having an 800 watt inverter. And I'm like, well, the EB70 dies after 800 watts anyway. So it had me kind of looking at them a little suspect. Like, did y'all really update this product? Because I don't know. Now, maybe it's the surge. I have been tempted. And once I get more devices that could take 200 watts of input from these panels, I'll be more free to test a little more regularly on stuff like my EB70 and my EcoFlow and my EB120. Because my EB120 gets fuller because of the big panel that I have on it, I find myself using it a lot more because I don't have to preserve that one. If you remember, at some point, I was trying not to drain down my EB120 so much because it's my biggest power station. If I ever lost power, that would be the one that I would have to try to use to sustain life around here a little longer. But because I know I can kind of rely on getting it full the next day, I use it a little more. I'm starting to pull it back upstairs and all that jazz. But my point is, as I get more devices that can use 200 watts of solar panels, I can start pulling some devices off and start testing it a little more. I need to do a test with the EB70, which I don't know if Setai covered. I watched this video kind of making breakfast or getting the kids together. So I wasn't paying close attention to it. I need to revisit it. But he did a video on the EB70 versus the 70S. I'm sure he has commented by now because I'm running my trap a lot. What? Oh yeah, I kind of don't mind that because she'll jump off the bed like fine, so she can get down from there fine. What was that comment? The capacity, yeah, the inverter. So I haven't tested it. That's a long story long, right? Study shows EMP will mainly affect on-grid items, not just everything electrical. Study shows that EMP will mainly affect on-grid items. That's an interesting thing. Minuteman Prep was talking about his panels and how he was talking about this idea of like if you have your panels stored away, you want to like it sounds silly, but I don't know nothing about that. But he was like, try not to have the cables be as long because it reduces the surface area that the EMP can impact. I just thought that was really interesting. So you bringing that bit of information about on-grid items versus things that are not on the grid is interesting as well. I don't know much about EMPs. I more so like the idea of what are the things you can put your phones in to stop your phones from transmitting. I would kind of do that because I want to be able to put my phone in one of those bags, take it with me, and Google and all the people don't know where I've been the whole time because it's always in whatever. The last one that I had that had a removable battery was the LG V20. I really like that phone, but it started to get a little long in tooth, as they say, with the ROM support because I had it rooted. So I sold it. Nice, man. That's good to hear. I have 4 of those 100-watt Renergies on the AC200. In a few weeks, I'm going to get some 250-watt panels so I can over panel it and then try to figure out how to actually use the power since I can't grid tie it. Interesting. How big is a 400-watt panel? The ones that I was looking at that Beam Energy shared with me, it was like about, the Renergy is 66 inches tall by 40. And that 400-watt panel was like 80 or 78 or something like that, which it seems big. But once you get that stuff in your yard is, if you could put a 66-inch panel back there, you could put a fucking 80-inch back there. So, I mean, yeah, they're pretty big. And then some of the thing you have to watch out with the used panel market is those panels are not as efficient or energy dense or whatever you want to call it. So they're larger for less power. So you could get like a 200 some odd watt panel and it'll be very similar to the size of the Renergy, which is why I like the Renergy because it felt mainly compact, more compact, I should say. You have weather where you are, bigger panels would definitely be nice to get some juice on the weekdays. Yeah. I have 2 power stations, 3 100-watt panels, and 1 fold up. But when I catch Av's eyes, I feel like I need more. Yeah. I'm not going to confirm or deny. I'm not going to affirm or deny that. I'm just going to let you take from this what you take from it and act on it how you must. I think I just like the equipment. I dig that. Yeah. That's how I feel about GUNs. Like the techie in me likes the technology of them. They're cool. So I know that I will want a bunch. I would kind of want to collect. And not like in the sense of having a bunch. I just like options. Auntie Blessings, we're eating Sonic fish on one video. Another one from a place called Gretna Depot. I don't think that fish sandwich is available everywhere from Sonic. Yeah, I don't think it's available. Not up here anyway. You picking up that heavy box? Because you're really strong? I know. Power station right here. Let's see. What about a new? I don't care about that either. I mean, I care, but you know, okay. What are you gonna do? Coronal mass ejection, CMEs. Yeah, that's Joe Trott's lane right there. EB70 murders users. I'm giving up on it. A nuke is also an EMP, and at least some of them produce electromagnetic pulse. I have to go. See you next time. Hey, good to see you around, 2%. Thanks for hanging. I think this is the first time that you had to dip early. And as your employer in fictitious YouTube land, I respect that. See, Holmes, what's happening? How you handle your panels in high wind? We don't really have a whole lot of high wind situations. Sometimes the wind gets unwieldy, and I'll go pull my panels down onto the ground. The panels that lean up against stuff, I don't really have to worry about that because they're shielded by trees and the wind doesn't blow against them. In worst case, they would just fall down into the driveway on grass. The one up top on the balcony is interesting, but I pulled that one down too when it gets windy. And then the one in my front yard is typically in a position where if it fell over, it would just fall on the grass. And I lay them horizontally, the one in the front, instead of tall, so it doesn't have as much to fall down. But I pull them down. But we don't have a whole lot of windy situations here. Has anyone tried a cutting edge system where you can use your own battery? Not me. Bro, do the parallel test. What parallel test? What you talking about? Are they anchored? What do you use? Yeah, what I was thinking about is getting some bungee ties. I was kind of hoping that someone had some on the marketplace because I don't want to buy them new. I love being on the marketplace. That's something that people kind of have hanging around their house that they rarely use. And what I was going to do is, if it'll fit, I was going to wrap it around the banister and put the hooks into the holes. Like maybe 2 sets. I'm sorry. 1 set. And then that gives me a little, like, the wind could come through. But the wind typically comes through like this in my backyard. It doesn't blow because my house, my rail, it has wind protection. And typically the wind doesn't roll through here strong anyway. But sometimes it does. But that would give me some space from stopping it. And you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. I just hooked up an adapter. I just hooked on an adapter that takes my Heart 2 battery and charges my EcoFlow. Interesting. To battery adapter wired to XT60. You know what's interesting? That Alcatel device has a XT60 connection on it. And I wonder what style. I haven't looked close enough at it, but I wonder if it's a female or a male. And then what would you use that for? I guess in Jehu land of external batteries, you could use that. Oh, that's interesting. You could use that XT60 port to charge batteries. That is peculiar. I think it's rated at 10 amps, right? That's dope, actually. That's tight. Get on that. Let's talk about that a little more. That's actually really cool. All right, I'm gonna have to move on because I could get stuck there. Okay, I'll let him read that. 20 volt, circuit rack battery. Have we all liked? Yeah, y'all don't have to. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up if you're into that kind of thing. I don't want to discourage you, but I don't want you to feel the pressure either. But thank you, Auntie Blessings, for mentioning it. Question: how does the chat handle solar charging without your neighbors knowing what you have? My backyard faces north with tree coverage. My house is on the main road in a subdivision. That's interesting. What I do, one, I don't necessarily care, but I am mindful of it, right? I live in a space that's kind of shielded, but not by a whole lot of stuff. One instance I had when I used to pull my panel to the front of the house, I would have it sitting tall. And I was like, man, I actually made a short about it, a video about it on Instagram. But after doing it quite a few times, it was like, well, why don't you just turn it sideways? And then that lowers the profile of visibility. And then it's blocked by some bushes and things like that. So it's like, it's not as visible. But as far as your immediate neighbors, I mean, unless you have a fence, but I'll let y'all answer. I have pretty decent relationships with my neighbors though, so that's all good around here. You can use, hey Tia, first and foremost, you can use foil heavy duty grade to wrap your phone. I'm sure that would work. I can kind of believe that, but I mean, if it's something that I want to have be an option for me, I don't want to use foil, right? I want to be able to have a bag or a sleeve I can drop that dip in and then move about the country and then pull it out when I need to. I also think about it in terms of just being in the house. I have a ton of phones. So whoever's listening, I joke with my wife and I'll say, we'll be talking about something and I'll be like, you listening, Obama? Mind your business. That stuff is foul. I think it's foul that he didn't do nothing about it. I think it's foul that he carried on that tradition. And I think it's foul that we haven't addressed this Eric Snowden situation in a reasonable manner. I just think that that's ridiculous that we're carrying on and not addressing that whole situation. All because we're so like law focused. It's like, get a grip. Anywho, but I feel like because of all these phones, I feel like whoever's listening to me is listening to me in like Dolby Digital. So I would like to have something I could put stuff in and just know that when it's in there, it's cut off from everything. Yeah, I'm sure Joe has responded by now since I'm so slow on the comments. I'm recovering from a power station addiction. I'm keeping my word, not another power station unless Titan comes out with a new one. The Titan, they are coming out with a new one. I don't think it's going to be that big of an upgrade. Minuteman Prep was talking about it on one of his lives. He was saying that if you needed something or another, then that's the new one that you want to get. But as far as everybody else, you could keep messing around with the old one. Just subscribe to your channel. We'll be checking your videos out soon. Nice. Sure. That's what I did. I have the bungee hooked through one side, goes in between the deck banister, and then hooked onto the other side. I just use it so it doesn't slide around. Wind could still lift. That's for sure. I dig that. Welcome back, sir. We're talking about solar flares. We're not. They're talking about solar flares. What's up, Ban Everything? Good to see you. Take one phone not wrapped and call the wrapped one. If it doesn't ring, it works. Yeah, I need something a little more suitable to my life, not foil. Foil is not going to work for me. Yes, that's Joe Trot. All right, guys. I don't have anything else that comes to mind, but even if I did, I'm at 90 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'll keep you guys posted on the AC200P situation. Actually, let's see if anything has transpired. I'm going to email them from my Gmail account probably tomorrow for sure. I tested an AM radio with foil. The antenna is a bar inside the radio. It did stop it from receiving stations. I want that LiFo. Oh, okay, you want to tighten with LiPo. Sheesh. Man, you got to have a hand truck to move that thing around to get it where you need it. But I cannot imagine what life is going to be like as I get more of these bigger power stations, God willing. I can't imagine that. I'm so used to like nickel and diamond and stuff like that. That's just going to be an interesting thing. That's going to be crazy. I'm going to really need to get our box upgraded and get a transfer switch. I'm going to have to take advantage. Thanks, James. I appreciate that. Also called a Faraday bag. That's what I was trying to think of. Kept thinking about something else. Okay, cool. Get an RFID blocking bag. That's interesting. I have to research that RFID stuff. People have them in the wallets and stuff like that. I wonder about the real concern. It's one of those things that I'm kind of casually aware of, because when people say they go to trade shows and stuff like that, they make sure that they have their stuff in the RFID proof wallet. Um, um, let's see. Hey, listen, thank you guys for all your support. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you to the few folks who rock with me on Patreon. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you to all you kind folks who say thanks for coins. People reach out, they ask questions, I answer because that's what I'm here for. And then they'll usually toss me a few bucks just to say thank you. I'm eternally grateful for sure. Stay tuned to the community tab, because if I have any updates that I can't do a video for, that's where I'll put them, I think. Also remember that you can go and find me on Patreon and you don't have to sign up or anything. You can just view the page, see what's available, see what posts that I've made that are free. That's kind of going to be a space where I make updates first and foremost, depending on the type of update that it is. We're going to get out of here and figure out what we're going to eat, because, yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Y'all be beautiful. Until next time, man.